Friends, today's NRI Samay program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free. And today's show is pre recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisamay@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Friends, welcome back to NRI Samay. This is Srihari Atluri, your host for today's show. There is a huge influence of mainstream media on all of us. They have a big role in forming public opinion and government policy. But as we often see, the corporate-owned media is behind sensationalism, paid news, playing dirty political games, as we have seen in Radia tapes, for example. And ultimately, they are worried about their bottom line. And this is at the cost of all of us. Today we have with us Pallav Bajjuri from Saddahaq. Saddahaq is a news site which is promising to transform the way we consume the news. It is taking the citizen journalism to the next level. Pallav, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Just a clarification even before we jump in. So, Saddahaq, as we're positioning, it's not exactly a news site, but it's actually a news platform. So that, news can lead to better things and bigger things is what our ambition is with this. So, with that,
actually, that's a good segue. So why don't you, in fact, explain what Saddahaq is and how it is different from other news platforms or news sites?
Sure, absolutely. So, Saddahaq is something that was born out of, our own experiences and what's been happening in the world and, in the country, etc. So, the way we look at Saddahaq is, it's not just a news site or a news portal, but it's actually a news platform, as I said in the beginning again. So, our objective with Saddahaq is that news should lead to social dialogue, and dialogue should lead to action on the ground. That is how we see, the platform. So let me give you an example here. So, for example, we have a team of journalists that does the regular job of journalism. So when Salman Khan gets a bail, or when Abdul Kalam expires, or when Yaqub Memon is hanged, our team of journalists will provide you with that news, just as news.
Right.
But then our objective is to
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
do more.
Repeat that again. What is the
Sorry.
You said your objective is?
So our journalists are presenting the news, but then our objective is also to understand how the society is perceiving a piece of news. How is the society reacting to something? What do people think about it? Because, the way we see it, all through national television or newspapers or even the most news websites, in fact, every news website, they have a very specific set of columnists or speakers or editors that are always pushing down their own opinions. We never get to hear what the society actually thinks about it. So even if we take the example of Dr. Kalam's passing away, we've had so many people writing so many tributes for Kalam, but there was one scientist from Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore who's written the other side of Abdul Kalam, wherein Kalam was used by the state or by the media as a tool to influence masses in favor of nuclear power, etc. The person that wrote the story was a PhD student at IISc, and so this person who's written this other side of the Kalam story is a PhD student at IISc Bangalore, and he might have some activist leanings within him. But the point is, we are opening space for everyone to come in and talk about a specific event or a specific piece of news or specific activity. So that is how we are looking at Saddahaq. Saddahaq is a news platform that is leading to social dialogue, that brings in different perspectives and allow us to see all sides of a coin. And from there, we also partner with a number of different organizations. So if you go on Saddahaq now, when you're reading specific stories, you'll see different activities coming up. So if you're reading about a story that is related to women empowerment or something, there'll be a crowdfunding campaign to help women entrepreneurs are trying to do something, those kind of things. So what we do is we partner with petitions platforms, we partner with crowdfunding platforms. We are, in fact, talking to an RTI platform. So what we do is, within news, within dialogue, as you're reading something on Saddahaq, we will present you more and more opportunity to engage with that topic. In women empowerment by, let's say, donating $100 or 100 rupees to someone that needs it. So, as I said in the beginning, so our objective with Saddahaq is news leads to dialogue, and dialogue, naturally creates a lot of energy. So if there's 20 people talking about Abdul Kalam and 1 million people reading about it, there's a lot of energy that's being produced. So our objective is to channelize all of this energy into something meaningful on the ground. So that is where I said, we partner with, let's say, crowdfunding platforms or petitions platforms, and we sort of use artificial intelligence or different sorts of algorithms to connect the dots between these platforms and whatever happens on Saddahaq. So,
okay, let me. I think you. I think there are multiple things here. So one is you have a set of journalists who is collecting the news and publishing it. So that's the news. And the second thing is people, regular listeners or readers, they can go and they can post their own opinion as an article, and you will put it on the Saddahaq. And the next step is to connect these things with what else is going on, like any causes or events people want to participate. For example, if somebody is reading about women empowerment, like you mentioned, so they get like related events on the side, and they can go and click on that, or is that how it works at that point?
Right, that's correct.
I see. So this maybe a little bit more background before we go deep into it. When did this start? How did this start? And I guess on day one you probably did not have this kind of an elaborate plan. Maybe you started a little bit smaller, I guess.
Right. So the initial spark for Saddahaq was way back in 2010. So I myself was in America between 2006 and 2012. I came to the US to do my undergraduate degree, but while I was in the college, I also started pursuing a master's degree and all. So 2010 was when I graduated from college, but right around that time, there were a few different incidents that were happening in India. One of them was, the 2G scandal and Radia tapes. So that was when the first spark came in. When Radia tapes came out, it was kind of a shocker for us because sitting in America, this was again back in 2010 when Facebook and Twitter was not so active in India. So our primary source of information about India, our primary source of news about India was through some of these mainstream channels, ndtv.com or ibnlive.com, etc. Even First Post actually started only in late 2010. So it was kind of a shocker for us because everything that we knew about the country was being fed to us by people who had specific interests. So that is when we realized India or the world in general needs a media platform that is completely open and transparent, that is not controlled by a specific set of people, but which has democracy at the heart of it. So that was the first spark for Saddahaq. And from there, we also started analyzing if this is what is happening, what else can we do with it? I mean, so along with Radia tapes, right around 2010, 2011, there was a natural disaster in AP. There were huge floods in Kurnool and some other parts of AP. Yeah. And this was again, we were sitting back in Boston and we were learning about this through different news channels or news websites. And we wanted to do something for the flood victims. But, we didn't know who was working on the ground or we didn't know how to reach out to them. So the question we asked ourselves was, if the news organizations were giving us information about activity happening on the ground, why don't they also let us participate with the activity on the ground? So it's a few of these events that sort of started piling or coming together, and we started realizing when all of the news moves to a digital world through laptops or through smartphones or whatever it may be, people have a lot of scope for engaging with something, physically engaging even. So when you're reading something or when you're watching something on TV, you cannot actually interact with TV. You cannot touch TV and do something with it. Maybe you can press a button and change the channel, but you actually cannot interact with the same channel, right? But it's very different when you come to smartphones or laptops. When you're reading a story, you can go, you can say, I like the story, or you can put a comment right there. There's a lot of interactivity. So we realize there's a lot of power in the interactivity that the digital medium of, laptops and tablets and the internet in general. So one thing started piling on the other, and eventually, we started coming together and designing things, and so it was a 5-year development, but that is where the initial sparks came from.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And then there were, maybe you can tell a little bit about your team. How many people are there? When I said
sure. So
about journalists, right? So that one. And
right,
also, is it a non-profit or is it a profit, or where does Saddahaq?
All right. So to begin with, I'll address the last part of the question. Saddahaq is definitely a for-profit company. I personally do not believe that non-profits can scale to global levels and create the kind of impact that they want to create. So, for me, from my own perspective, I see even Google and Apple and Microsoft, these have been the biggest disruptors of mankind in the last few decades, and they're all for-profit companies. And without them, the world would have been very, 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 very different, maybe even backwards. So anyway, so the bottom line is Saddahaq is definitely a for-profit company. And in terms of our teams, we have a number of different teams with different tools and different purposes: marketing, communications, technology, journalism, and operations. All in all, we are about 25 people in core strength. 12 of them are journalists, 8 of them are technologists, and the rest, there's one person in communications, one in operations, one in marketing, and then we have a CEO who's kind of jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing.
I see. That's excellent, and I guess these folks must have been inclined to this kind of social journalism, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, all the journalists we have are actually handpicked, from a very small set of people, and the biggest challenge for journalism right now is their independence, right? And that's why we consciously chose people who are able to work independently, but at the same time with a lot of integrity. So, and so they know their job, they know their role, they know what kind of responsibility they have towards the society as journalists. And at the same time, all the technologies that we have, most of the people in technology team are actually a group of friends that started this off. So they came together about 3 years ago, some of them 2 years ago, and all of them know the kind of platform they're trying to build. So they came together with certain values, and they're living by those values, and they're building towards, improving on them every day.
Excellent. That's a very positive thing. And what I really wanted to ask, the Saddahaq recently is creating a lot more buzz, and now it was Saddahaq, now it's Saddahaq 2.0. So what is the difference between these two, and what happened?
Between Saddahaq and Saddahaq 2.0, the difference is essentially in the product itself. So again, as you keep working on things, and as you keep talking to people, you sort of learn new things and new ways of doing things, etc. So our vision and mission are still the same as they were way back in 2010 when the first Spark came out. But between 1.0 and 2.0, what has changed is the way the product functions to enable this entire vision and mission. So the difference is essentially in the product itself and nothing else. So we've made sure the product is more social, it's more mobile, and it's more personal. That's pretty much the biggest difference between 1.2 and 2.0.
Okay. And when you say product, you are talking about technology part, right? So you're saying you upgraded the technology, you have a new website, and you have a new app?
We don't have an app yet. So when we say mobile, we've sort of
so you have a mobile
made our own website very responsive.
Yeah.
Right. No, we don't have a mobile. We don't have a distinct mobile and desktop sites, but we have a website that is responsive. So it works well in all kinds of things. That's pretty much what we mean by that.
Excellent. And in these years of running Saddahaq, what has been, there must be some things that you felt like, what, this is why we are doing this. Maybe you can give an example, one or two examples.
Right. I mean, there have been a number of instances like this. So about 6 months ago or so, there was a campaign running on, so there's a crowdfunding company called, or a platform called Milap. It's based out of Bangalore, India. And Milap helps people crowdfund for social causes. And they wanted to do a campaign for celebrating the unsung heroes of the country. And that would actually start off as being a blogging campaign. And since, they are saying they wanted to use Saddahaq as, the campaign platform for this, etc., we worked with them. So what happened was there's one girl who was a Prime Minister Rural Development Fellow working in Bhadrachalam in Telangana. And she knew of an organic farmer who was doing wonderful job with very few resources, and she saw that farmer and his innovative techniques, etc., etc. And then that was actually picked up by National Innovation Foundation, and they invited this farmer to for knowledge sessions, etc. And the farmer needed some some resources to help others carry out similar activities in his tribal belt. So Milap organized a crowdfunding campaign for him. In about 3 weeks' time, we raised, we through Milap or the entire community raised about 50,000 rupees for this farmer. And 3 months down the line, a government bureaucrat saw this farmer's story on Saddahaq, and then they've called the farmer to hire him permanently to spread the knowledge and to help more people adopt these practices. So a campaign that someone else wanted to do, a person on the ground that had the story of someone else on the ground, National Innovation Foundation, a non-governmental organization, and a government bureaucrat. So there were 5 different people involved, and Saddahaq was only the medium that was connecting the dots. So we are very proud because, from our end, the kind of manual effort that we put in was extremely minimal. We were at best coordinating the, connections between all of these people, and everything happened naturally just because of the power of the platform, how it connected the dots between different people and different ideas. So it was a hugely successful campaign for us, and that was an extremely standout sort of a situation. But then there were a number of different activities like that. Even as I was giving an example of what's happening today, everyone was praising Kalam, but there was then one person who was trying to bring out the other side of Kalam.
Yeah.
So that is an extremely important part to understand because.
Friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. NRI Summit does not rely on corporate funding, and our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Corporate funded media is driven by the TRP rating, and profits are blurring the distinction between news and entertainment. Why do our news channels talk so much about cricket, movies, accidents, popular figures' personal lives, babies of heroines, gossips, etc., while they should be covering the struggles of people, inequality in our society, rural issues, and border security issues? Why did our media raise some corruption crusaders to the sky on one day and shut them off completely when graft charges were raised on those corporate sponsors? Media relies so much on the corporate funding and government blessings that they cannot report independently. NRI Samay is different. We don't accept funds from any corporations, and hence our shows are commercial free. We completely rely on donations from you. Please consider donating to NRI Samay, and please go to nrisamay.com and donate generously. This is the only way together that we can continue NRI Samay. All donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com. And if you have any questions, please write to nrisamay@gmail.com.
You were talking about doing journalism in a democratic way, and
Right.
not having few people push their own agenda or ideology. Then how do you
Right.
balance that? And also, did you get branded in one way or the other?
Oh, okay. So the biggest challenge for us is that, when talking about democratizing news and doing more than just news, we are essentially trying to disrupt an industry that's centuries old. So it's honestly for us, the branding has been a huge challenge because trying to explain to people that we are a platform and not a website, or not just a news site, is a huge challenge. So this is something that we go through on a regular basis. We've already been tagged as pro-Congress, pro-BJP, pro-AAP, pro-left, and pro-corporate, as well as anti-everything I said. So in terms of being branded as one thing or the other, we've been branded as everything and anti-everything, pro-everything and anti-everything. So that keeps happening with us. But in terms of maintaining the democracy, again, as we said, everything that happens on the platform is completely necessary. So whatever, for example, if you want to write a story or an article about something, the kind of interface that you have, the kind of tool sets that you have, is exactly the same thing that anyone of our journalists can do sitting here in the office. So that's the first level of democratization, right? We do not make any distinction in the tool set that our own journalists use versus someone else trying to write something on Saddahaq uses. So that is one area. And second is so the kind of reach that you have. So again, earlier you were asking me about the difference between Saddahaq and Saddahaq 2.0, right? So one of the fundamental differences is that if you go through any news website or a platform, all the stories or all the activities, segregated by categories. So you'll have politics, you'll have sports, you'll have something else, you'll have media, you'll have entertainment and things like that. So what that structure does is it basically categorizes, or it helps in segregating different aspects. But national politics is very different from international politics, and that is again very different from regional politics. And even within regional politics, Bihar politics is extremely different from Tamil Nadu politics, from Telangana politics. So what this does is, for someone who wants to say, I just want only politics, we'll be giving them politics from, anywhere and everywhere, which sort of clutters their own interests or which doesn't serve their purpose. So what we did is, instead of, using categories as a, segregation point, we've created something called a space. And a space is essentially a community of people that are interested in specific topic. So instead of having politics as a category, you'll now have Politics Telangana as a community that cares about Telangana politics. So anyone writing a story about Politics Telangana will now write that into this particular community.
I see.
So what that does is it helps everyone's story reach specific communities in the same power. So it doesn't matter if our journalist is writing about Telangana politics or if someone else is writing about Telangana politics. All of them reach to the audience that cares about it just as much as everyone else.
Okay.
So that way, in terms of distribution also, we are democratizing how distribution of activity works. So one way, the first layer of democratization is in production itself. The tools that we use are the tools that everyone else uses. Second is the way we reach out to people is exactly the same way that anyone else reaches out, and it's with the same power.
I see.
Of course, over time the algorithms themselves work in a sense that, if you're a regular writer and if you have a lot of people engaging with your story, then you'll have slightly higher power than someone who's writing for the first time. But, that's the nature of the beast, right? That's the nature of how algorithms work, and we'll continue improving upon that so that we sort of naturalize it.
I see.
So that's how we are looking at democratizing. And in fact, even when we're talking about spaces, right, when we talk about Politics Telangana, it's not a space that only we can create. Anyone in the world can create a space for themselves. So there's a group of LGBT, activists or people here in Hyderabad. When Section 377 was being debated even in the Supreme Court, etc., they created a space called Repeal Section 377. And it was entirely by them. So they created their own community. They were driving their own news. They were driving their own dialogues. They were driving their own events, petitions, crowdfundings, everything by themselves.
I see.
So that way, everything is self-service.
And whatever they are doing, I can subscribe to that and I get the feed, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. And let me ask you one question. So, how many articles did you receive from different readers? Just a ballpark. And how many and what percentage did they make it to the final cut onto the platform? I mean, I'm trying to understand if you filter out a lot of stuff or is it a small number of articles?
So the fortunate, I won't get into the semantics of it, but so far from the time they began, there's about 13,000 odd stories on Saddahaq so far, and on an average day, there's about 50 stories coming in. But when there are events like Kalam's death and Yaqub Memon happening around the same time, we have a lot more activity happening. Right. But on an average day, we probably have about 50 stories, 30 of them from our own journalists and 20 of them from people, outside. Yeah. In terms of filtering content, so we have a very strong policy on our platform that is people and life before religion and nation. So even if someone writes something, on Saddahaq, there's a lot of activity from people in Kashmir. So there are Kashmiri separatists who write on Saddahaq as well. There are, people who think Kashmir should be a part of India, and they write on Saddahaq as well. So we, as a platform, are not pro-India. We are not anti-India. We are not pro-Muslims. We are not anti-Muslims. We are not pro-Hindu. We are not anti-Hindu. We are essentially agnostic to countries or religions or nations or anything. So we are just a platform that enables dialogues. So in the same spirit, we do not reject anyone's stories. The only point of rejection will be if that particular story or article harms life or is calling for violence, or if it creates, purely junk content. Right. So there have been occasions, Saddahaq reaches out to, more than 1 million people every month. So it has its own reach and it has its own popularity. So what happens is a lot of people come in advertising about their own companies or advertising their own websites. Those kind of things, they do not add any value to a normal reader. So those are the kind of things that we sort of cull from the platform. We remove pure advertisements that don't add value. We remove stories that call for violence and things like that. So, but fortunately, so far we've had only one instance where someone has actually come in and said, all the Hindus come together, we have to kill these, Muslims and things like that. So there's only one instance when that happened. We deleted that story immediately. But otherwise, we don't, approve or reject. As soon as someone publishes, it goes live on the platform. There's no two ways about it. We do not meddle with it.
I see. And so you're saying most often you may not even read the entire article because you are seeing like 20 new articles could come out every day, right, from the readers?
I mean, we have a team of we have a team of 2 moderators, but then we do scan every story that comes in. We have a team of 25 members. If not moderators, there's also the technology people who are following the site, and there's a lot of friends. There's a lot of viewers that come to Saddahaq naturally and look at content. So one thing that we do is we actively, every user is a friend of ours. Pretty much that's the way we follow it. So people write to us through our Facebook page, or sometimes a lot of people write to us, into our personal Facebook inboxes, etc. So we have a lot of people tracking what's on the site. So we do know what's happening on the site at all times.
I see. Excellent. And in terms of what is next, is there a 3.0 or where do you want to get to next?
No, I mean 2.0 is the platform that we see as driving until the next 5 years or so. So our objective is again to scale this platform, right? So right now we have about 20 stories coming in every day from outsiders. We want to get to a point where there are 10,000 people, and then there are 100,000 people engaging in dialogue on Saddahaq. And then we want to expand our partnership base. So right now we have one crowdfunding platform and one petition platform that we are partnered with. But we want to expand that to as many people as possible. Causes.org, and then jetcar.org, change.org. We want every petition platform out there to come in and bring their content into Saddahaq. We want every single crowdfunding platform to bring their campaigns onto Saddahaq. We want everyone to be able to participate in dialogues in Saddahaq. So it's going to be reaching out to more people and establishing more partnerships. And the other aspect is, one of our biggest objectives is to take Saddahaq to the last mile. So newspapers and televisions reach out to very small set of people. Believe it or not, even today, only 150 million homes in India have television connectivity, and only the other way around. 100 million people have television, or 100 million homes have television connectivity, and on a regular day, only 150 million newspapers are sold in India. Whereas the population of the country is approaching 1.3 billion people.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who are still disconnected from news. So our objective is to, go into the remotest parts of the country. Smartphones are becoming cheaper every day, and internet is spreading every day. So we want to reach out to the remotest possible places in the country and bring voices out from there, bring news out from there, and bring views out from there, and bring wisdom out from there. So, one of the things is National Innovation Foundation is something that registers rural innovations. And they have a base of 2,000 innovators that no one in the country knows about, or no one in the mainstream country knows about. So we want to bring in all these innovations, all these innovators, all their ideas, all their wisdom onto Saddahaq, and from there we want to spread it to the rest of the world.
I see.
So those are our objectives for the next few years.
So by doing, for example, all these things happen in few years, then what is that, still I'm trying to understand, what is that you are trying to accomplish?
Right. So the thing that we are trying to accomplish is, one, we are taking journalism and media to the remotest parts of the world, or remotest parts of the country, thereby giving voice to the remotest people.
Okay.
That's point number one. And point number two, again, as I said, we are trying to build independent communities, right? So if we are talking about repeal Section 377, it's a community that cares about that topic. So underlying all of these things that I just told you about, there's actually a social network that's building in Saddahaq. And that social network is driven by the communities. So again, as you said, if you subscribe to the Section 377 community, you get all the updates about that community.
Right.
So without even knowing it, you are subscribed to a particular community. And that is a social network in itself.
Yeah.
So our objective is we build micro communities around these individual topics so that we will build stronger communities on specific cases and probably lead to solutions in those specific cases.
I see.
So again, as I said, if you are reading about women empowerment and you are able to determine that there's a crowdfunding campaign happening somewhere and you are able to donate 100 rupees to a woman's cause, you've already empowered women. And you didn't have to do much work, right? You are just reading a story. Now you saw a campaign that you didn't even know existed, and you participated in the campaign within 2 or 3 clicks and card swipe.
Yeah.
And now you have actually created impact on the ground.
Right.
So this is what we are trying to do: build smaller communities, build stronger communities, and help actually resolve issues on the ground.
Excellent. I mean, I'm very excited. I follow regularly, and I'm very excited just to see what are the possibilities, what are the things that can happen in future with such a platform. Before we wrap it up, is there anything that I did not ask and you want to cover?
I think we've pretty much covered all the bases. One question that people usually ask me that you have escaped is, where is the money coming in from now, and how do you make money to run a profitable company?
Okay.
So, I'm glad when people don't ask me that question actually.
Okay.
But so in terms of funding, so far we've been funded, and we are still funded by our own friends and families, the founders. And we are now looking at raising some money from venture capital groups or angel investors to drive us for the next couple of years or so until we start looking at revenue.
I see.
Different revenue models.
Are you thinking of maybe like crowdsourcing or something, or not at this point?
So honestly, my personal belief is that crowdfunding for the scale that we are looking at is going to be an extremely difficult task. So when we are talking about reaching out to the remotest parts of the country, when we are talking about building a network of journalists, a network of independent journalists across the country that can survive by themselves using Saddahaq without having to rely on an organization. And when we are talking about running a team of 25 that we want to expand to about 60 or 70 people, it's going to be an expensive operation for the next 15 to 24 months for us.
Yeah.
So raising this kind of large sum from crowdfunding platforms is extremely difficult, and especially when we say outright that we are a for-profit company.
Yeah, it will be difficult, and also other thing is, your content, you'll have to push a lot of these advertising,
right.
instead of your own content. So that will be a sacrifice.
Right. Exactly. So, there are a lot of these parameters that have deterred us from, using any of these crowdfunding formulas. I mean, they have been successful. Some independent news organizations have crowdfunded successfully up to, even $2 million or more in Europe and elsewhere. But, again, I don't think India is mature enough country for crowdfunding either. It's starting up. There's a lot of good platforms coming up, a lot of great campaigns being successful through crowdfunding, but I think it's still very, very premature for the kind of sum that we are trying to raise.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Thanks, Pallav, for spending this time, and we hope we wish all the success that Saddahaq deserves, and we hope to see more stuff, more exciting things coming out of your organization.
there's a lot more exciting stuff coming up, and the next couple of months will be very, very interesting for us as well. So the great thing that's happening for us is that the uniqueness of the platform and the kind of thought we put into it has been attracting international recognition as well. Yeah. So people like Alan Rasbridger, who heads The Guardian, even people like him have come out and said, it's a great and promising platform looking into the future. So there's exciting things happening. There's more excitement in the future. So we are looking forward to it. Looking forward to creating great impact.
I saw some of those that you shared. So that's congratulations on that.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on this call. I hope we add a lot of value to the society.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, Pallav. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Friends, if you liked today's show, please go to youtube.com/NRI Samay and click on the subscribe button. You will get notified every time we publish a new show. And you can also like us on our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.